still is, and she's in the business of coaching. She's a life coach. And I was saying to Mel before we have this interview today, I was being reminded as I was thinking through the week about a conversation we had when I was employed by the company she was managing, right? Mel has worked in managerial capacities, and she came to me one day and she said, Kerm, you've been working here, but I've recognized that there's need for more formal training in your life. That was a heavy statement. And I was faced with two questions parading through my mind. Do I get offended, or do I stop and listen to what she's really saying? Because I believe she was saying something, because she was seeing something. And I opted to take the second option. Let me listen more intently to what Melanie have to say. And I want to say, Mel, that statement, that meeting that day has significantly changed my life. And today we're privileged to have her with us because she's a life coach, and that's what she does. And so she's going to be talking to us along that line as well, because what we encourage in the GLS, Mel, is that it matters who train you. And we need to have coaches in our lives. We need to have people who are continually imparting into our lives. And it cannot just be anybody. It cannot just be anyone. It matters who train us. And so, Mel, it's an honor to have you. I want to ask you, you can introduce yourself and say hi to our audience this afternoon.
Yes, my name is Melanie Escalante, and I am a coach. I'm a certified professional coach. And when I started in coaching, I started out as a performance and life coach, helping people to up their performance. And that's what you just kind of introduced there, right? But after the first, I've been coaching for 5 years now, and after the first probably 18 months, I realized often that what it was coming down to for people was really just not having a vision for what it is that they wanted. And so pretty quickly soon after, while the process of coaching is pretty much similar, it's really kind of observation, asking questions, helping people to pull out from themselves solutions and to explore them to the end, as opposed to just acknowledging an idea, but more than an idea, kind of taking that idea and kind of really exploring it to see if it's something that's going to be useful for people. So, that's the coaching side of things, of asking questions, observing, offering the observation with no judgment, allowing somebody to say, yes, that observation resonates with me, or it doesn't resonate with me. And what I realized was I needed to help people in questioning in the area of what is it that you really want? What is it that you really want from whatever it is that you do, whatever you bring to life every day, whether it's in the workplace, or whether it's to start your own business, or whether it's in your family, or whether it's in your church or in your community. What is the outcome that we're looking for? Because people that come to me in coaching are generally stuck because they don't have clarity on what it is that they're going to. This particular theme for this particular GLS is Voice Your Vision, and that's right up my alley. So yeah, we definitely need to be observing, having challenging people, having challenging conversations, to also recognize that we need to grow into who we need to be in order to achieve what it is that we want.
I think that we can do our employers a great deal of injustice if we are employers that allow ourselves to be stagnated. I say of myself, Melanie, that I have the best library in the world. Obviously I'm connected to the GLS and life coaches and that kind of thing, and I'm on a path of continual development. And for me, one of the things I learned even as we work together over the years is that it was very important for me to find people who are experts in their fields. And I mean, the kind of work we did was specialized services, so it wasn't easy to find someone. But the hunger was there to be able to sort them out. I remember when we got internet for the first time, and I was like, oh wow, we have access. While some people are watching sports and playing games, that's not who we were. We took what was given to us and we used it to develop ourselves professionally, and I had to seek out these experts in the different areas of responsibilities that I had, because that is the way I believe I will give justice to my employer. And so I'm saying that today because I believe that for all of us, if we can find people who can help to empower us, to show us the areas of our shortcomings where we can develop more, we can be better contributors to the workplace that we're called to serve. And I think that creates a win-win scenario. And so I love the fact that you have embarked on this journey of becoming a life coach, because that's what you do. And so talk to us some more.
Yeah, so, you know, it's interesting because coaching for Belize is fairly new. And one of the things that we don't do well here, and I think they referred to that earlier, was, you know, be open and vulnerable to share our challenges, you know. And also we don't want to share our dreams and our ideas because we're afraid somebody will steal them from us, you know. And, you know, the nice thing about the coaching space is that it is a confidential space. It is a safe space. Whatever is said there stays between you and the coach, unless you decide you want to share it, right? And so it's interesting that in the coaching space, generally, people who come to coaching are successful people already, right? It's not, sometimes it's people who are struggling, but it's people who have got themselves to a certain place, done some studies, got the degrees, and yet they're still stuck about what next because they're not creating for themselves, having a mentor, creating the space for themselves to have the conversation, to get into their creative capacity, to look at what else it is that they want to do. You know, oftentimes we get to that point where we have got our degree and we've got the job that suits the degree and we've got comfortable at the skill sets that we have, and then we start to stagnate.
And it's not enough, Mel.
Right, exactly.
It's not enough. That's
and
not where the excitement of life and career is. It's in continual development. That's what I've learned.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things I did want to make sure we cover here is, you know, talking about libraries and books. So many people who are Christians and study the Bible don't necessarily study it in a way to see that it applies to their life. And so I'm not a preacher, I'm not a theologian, right? Yeah, but I see 4 particular verses that support me in the work that I do. And so I articulate those verses and I use them as a framework, if you like, for the work that I do. Right. And so I just wanted to mention, when we talk about leadership and we're talking about studying and learning from these people and learning from other books and, that they write and podcasts, etc., let's not forget how applicable the Bible is to what it is that we're doing as well, right? And so I have these 4 verses that are the foundation for me. And the first one is Proverbs 29:18. Where there is no vision, people perish. And so we said there must be more. When we get to that comfort zone, we think that there must be more, and that's exactly it. It's because there is no vision. So we need to get a concept. And we're not talking about necessarily a big world-changing vision, although it may well be if that's what God's calling you to. But it can be simply about asking yourself, what is it I want from these different areas of life, as I've said to you earlier, whether it's family, whether it's church, whether it's community, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's as an employee or an owner of the business, right? Just where there is no vision, people perish. So we've got to get a vision for what it is that we want to do next, right? And then Habakkuk 2:2 is the next one. Write down the vision, make it plain, so that he who sees it can run. You know, if we say where there is no vision, people perish, that's what the word tells us. The word doesn't tell us what it is if there is a vision. But God gave us the capacity to be creative thinkers, right? So we could say, look, if there is a vision, would it not be true then that people would thrive? And is that not what we want, right? So if we write down the vision and we make it plain, what is making it plain? It's creating your action plan, and it's taking action on the action plan, right? There's that quote that says, a goal without action and without a plan is just a dream, right? So making it plain is kind of creating your action plan, understanding what might get in the way, what opportunities are out there, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, etc. That's what you're doing when you're making it plain, and then you can run. Then you can run towards it. What is running? Running is thriving, right? So when we've got the vision, we write it down, we make it plain, and we can thrive. But there's a little bit of a catch as well. And a couple of speakers this morning have been talking to this around whether it's called mindsets, whether it's called conditioning, whether it's called mind muscle. So there's 2 other verses that I use. One is Proverbs 18:21, and that is life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? Oftentimes when we as believers use that, we're using that in the context of warning people about the death side of the power of the tongue. Let's not gossip. Let's not keep using these words out, times hard, things bad, that type of thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, you can talk Creole. Oh, wow. You can talk Creole, guys.
And let's talk about things that bring life. And our vision is about bringing life, right? So voice the vision. Voice the vision. That's just so important. And what I help people to understand when we're doing this vision, purpose, mission, values, is that's your transformational vocabulary.
Right.
That's voicing the transformation that you want to take place, right? Fourth verse is Romans 12:2, which is be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? So we're talking about conditioning, mindsets. Our conditioning can sometimes serve us. Some of us, let's say, have a brave conditioning or a bold conditioning, so it'll serve us to go out there. Yeah. But sometimes our conditioning, such as fear, gets in the way, right? Or such as insecurities or feeling like not good enough, right? They get in the way. And so we just need to do the work to transform the mind. Use the transformational vocabulary to transform the mind.
We have to be guardians of our own vision and destiny. I think that's where, the real essence of life is. There's a greater life awaiting me.
Yeah.
And I trust that that's an emotion that we all carry. If not, I'm willing to share it. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going
Don't be greedy.
greedy.
Yeah.
There needs to be a greater life in the forefront of our mind, in the rear of our mind, wherever we want to put it, that awaits us. Mm-hmm. Because if we're not hungry for the other dispensations that's before us, then how will we get there? I believe passion is a very important part of that character trait that we need to have. I've been through many failures, you know that. I've been through many setbacks, but I didn't stop there. I grew and I allowed those things to push my life. And so I believe it doesn't matter what we are today, we have to be hungry enough to say, I can do better. I know that there's better that awaits me. We need grit to push us forward.
Yeah.
We have to be gritty, passionate, and we have to be passionate and purposeful over a long duration, because there's going to be a lot of setbacks. And I believe that when we have people in our lives that can speak into us, like what you do, like what we do here in the GLS, to draw us forward, that is so critical for us. So I believe we have to embrace that journey of transformation as we talked about in the GLS. And so as a coach, I believe those are some of the things that you do bring to the table for people to understand, hey, let me help you to be able to draw out that grander vision of who you are.
Yeah, well, GLS, Global Leadership Summit, is about leadership, right? And when I was working on my own vision, when I moved into the coaching space, and vision can evolve, because you evolve, we're growing all the time, right? So when you're at another level, then you can see things differently and you can anticipate and hope for better things as well. So that's the thing about experience, being exposed to things so that you can see more and be more, right? And in my training, I was exposed to this quote from the movie Braveheart. That quote goes like this: every man dies, but not every man truly lives. And it just really kind of resonated with me, struck me in the heart, and I was thinking, wow, that we're all alive. There's another quote, I think I've heard Dave Ramsey say this, that dead at 30, buried at 70. Right? In other words, we're just existing. We're just existing for 40 years because we stopped growing at the age of 30 or whatever, right? I have this word live throughout my coaching practice, right? A part of a course requirement was to develop our own coaching model, and I used the word live as an acronym: listen, investigate, value, and embrace. And I won't go into that because that's not what we're here for. But even my vision statement is life-infused vision everywhere. Another acronym for live, right? I want to see life-infused vision everywhere. I want the audience to go home today, if they don't already have a vision in mind, to start planning and start brainstorming what that vision is. Use their creative capacity for that, right? So everything that I do is leaning towards life-infused vision everywhere, right? Yeah. But what I really wanted to bring us to is my purpose statement, and where I use that acronym again, but I add a few more words in between. And what is it? It's lead. Lead myself and others to innovate, visioneer, expand. And I say live squared, I put a little 2 over it because I use the E twice. Yeah. Lead myself and others to innovate, visioneer, expand, and enjoy our lives.
Mel, I remember so clearly, first in the field that I did when we worked together was alternative energy communication. And And I really sought out experts, and I found them. Because he used Seek Shall Find, right? Mm-hmm. I found them, and I remember I said this so clearly. Her name was Mary Brown, and man, I brought myself under her mentorship because I wanted to know what she had as an employee for an organization, right? And she trained me. And I had a dream. I wanted to be the best in that era, in the entire country. And I believe I mastered that in that specific era, right? And so, but it's because I was hungry to seek somebody out. And I'm saying here for us this afternoon, I know, Mel, I feel that there's a greater life that awaits all of us. We are here alive today for a reason, for a purpose, you know. And so I really appreciate what people like yourself.
One of the things, verses that also inform me is Jesus came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. Have life and have it more abundantly. We do have life. Everyone here, obviously, is alive, right? So let's take responsibility, you know, to lead ourselves, to innovate, visioneer, expand, and enjoy our lives.
Melanie, a part of that comes by renewing of the mind. I think you touch on one of the scriptures. Our next presentation is going to touch on that in a whole next level. But one of the questions I have for you is, why is mind transformation so important?
Well, listen, if we're not renewing the mind, if we're not growing the mind, we're basically stagnating. So we might one step forward, two back, and we're never really making progress, you know. So we do need to understand. There's a philosopher by the name of Osho, and Osho says, mind, a beautiful servant, a dangerous master.
Yeah.
And the dangerous master is that programming that we have, that conditioning that we have, that will prevent us from challenging the status quo and cause us to stay where we are. And so we need to be on a constant renewal, journey of renewal of our thinking process. We need to think about why we think the way we do, and we need to identify how it is we want to think. Who do we need to be in order to get to where we want to go?
Can we serve that on a personal level?
Absolutely. Because if we know where it is that we want to go, even if we're employed by somebody else, we might have bigger dreams. We might have just dreams of promotion within the business, or we might have bigger dreams to set up our own business. Or we might have dreams to bring more people to Christ and grow the church, or we might have dreams to grow our organization and, you know, impact whatever area of environmental conservation or whatever that is that we're working in, right? But you've got to know what impact you want to have, and then you've got to identify, what do I already bring to the table as it relates to being able to have an impact, but what's missing?
How do you
right?
perfect it?
And
perfect it.
Yeah, and when you realize what's missing, then you need to go to work on the mind to give yourself the right programs. Because there's a couple of surveys out and studies out that talk about habits and the power of habits, right? And there's this guy, James Clear, I don't know if anybody's read the book, Atomic Habits, but he talks about 40 to 50% of the things we do, the activities we do on a daily basis, are automatic, right? They're habits. They stem from a habit. What's really key about that is that so let's say one of the habits is taking your phone out of your back pocket. Once you take the phone out of your back pocket, what happens when you look at the phone? And how do you spend the rest of the time once you've looked at the phone? Some of it could be distractions and wasting time, just scrolling and what have you, but others could be watching a video training podcast, or it might be responding to family needs, or sending an email to the boss. But the point is, once you've pulled out the phone, that's already dictating what you're going to do next.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So then, what that tells us is that habits actually inform how we spend maybe 70 or 80 or 90% of our time, right? So we've got to make sure that we're creating the right habits, because that will inform how we spend our time and how we grow in order to be the person we need to be in order to do what it is we want to do.
You know, Mel, I'm glad you said that, because what I learned in my journey is that I built a company, working for a company, but I did it with integrity during my work, during my lunch hour. I would actually pay the guys to pick up my lunch, and I could do training. You had the internet, come on, it's there, let's use it, right? And I would spend that hour just researching, because there's a hunger for better, for more, you know. And I learned how to build a company, which I now have today. I was able to resign. I've been doing this for 11 years, and it's been going very well. because there was a hunger. Hunger is so critical. Vision is so critical. You know, and we really want to challenge our audience to recognize that how much do you pay for hunger?
Yeah.
Right? What do you pay for hunger?
Yeah.
Right? What do you
Yeah.
pay for purpose? We have to be hungry. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the character traits that we really, really have to develop. And I think, Mel, people like yourself who are coaches can see into people's lives and help extract those things. So
Yeah.
that this is who we have to be. We're not where we're supposed to be. It's a journey of change. And so what would you say to our audience this afternoon in your parting shot in terms of, you know, just to help cement the significance of having that growth mindset and that hunger level to be able to move to that next level?
I think that hopefully we have piqued some hunger in the conversation today, and I want to also affirm that issue of transformation of the mind as it relates to that, because if we recognize that we're mostly running from habits, we have to recognize that some of our habits are not serving us, right? And we're going to have to do the work. And so talking about hunger, hunger means doing the work, and I think you alluded to that as well. And recognize that it takes time. You just need to know habits don't go away.
That's right.
They can become less while you strengthen something else to be a better habit that serves you better. But it can be triggered at any time. I think people, when we talk about addiction, people who are in addiction understand that better than many, right? That it doesn't take much to trigger, and once it's triggered, it's off and running, you know, your mindset. So while you're hungry, you've got to understand that you can't just eat and be filled. You know, you have to keep doing the work, you know, so you have to keep making sure that you're eating sustainably and eating something that's going to serve you well, right? So you've got to keep on that journey. And so I think, you know, we talk about mentors, but I think accountability, you know, share your vision with somebody and ask them to help you be accountable. Ask them to follow up with you and ask you how you're doing on what it is that you say you're going to do. Not from a judging perspective, but I think Vanessa Van Edwards said the fact that her friend was asking her that question is what caused her to continue to grow, right? She felt she had to come to the lunch or whatever with something, right? When he was asking her what you're learning or how you're growing. And so accountability is really key in creating a shift and living the life that you want. If you're running an organization and you have a vision for the business, for the organization, you've got to put that transformational vocabulary into use all the time. You've got to be keeping the vision out in front of you so that when either you're full or when you're too hungry to even think, you have your vision in front of you, holding you accountable and making sure that you maintain and do the work to get there. Sometimes you fall off track. When you fall off track, that's why you want an accountability partner to help bring you back on. Coaching is one way, but you said you have lots of mentors. There's lots of people who are at the next level from where you're at. So connect yourself. We had great talk from Vanessa about how to connect. Connect yourself with somebody. Be vulnerable and share that you're looking for help, you're looking for support. And connect yourself to somebody who wants to help you and is going to help you get to that next level, and then you be a connection for somebody else. You know, leadership is for everyone. Everyone has influence, right? And the last thing I would just say about, as the takeaway that I'd like people to have is that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So use your tongue wisely, voice your vision, use your transformational vocabulary. You'll be amazed to see what God does with that.
Well, I can give you 15 seconds because we're out of time. Your book, you have a book that's for sale.
Oh, I have two books. They're workbooks, and so one is a vision map, so that is how to create your vision, and it gives you a step-by-step process, and at the end of it you'll have a map in order to move towards a vision. And the other is Clear Your Path, and the clearing your path is about self-awareness, having the self-awareness to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and to start develop the things that you need to develop in order to get to where you want to go. So it's Clear Your Path through self-awareness and visioneering. So they're both available outside. I usually sell them $40 each, but for GLS they're $35.
Oh, there you go. You even get a $5 discount, right? Was this helpful, you guys? All right. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. God bless.